Hello and welcome back to V8 Tech Work. So today we are going to continue building our backend. In our last video, we started creating on our backend here, and also we looked at how we can be able to connect to our database. So now what we are going to do in this video, the first thing that we are going to start with is to push our code to our GitHub, because we need to be able to track our code. So I'm going to open my GitHub right here, and also you can follow my GitHub so that you'll be notified when I upload a new project, or you can also be able to see the project that I'm working on. So here I'm going to add a new repository. So make sure that you have your GitHub, and also make sure that you have a Git. And also the other thing that you need to do is to connect the Git to your GitHub. So if I come here to my command prompt and do Git, you'll be able to see that I have several options here, and that is because I have installed Git, and also I have connected my GitHub with my Git. So let me add the name of the repo. So here I'm going to call this full stack. Let me add here full stack blood donation application, like that. And then another thing is that if you can add the description right here, and this one is a public repository. So I'm going to create the repo here. So after that, now it will be easier for me now to be able to push my code. So the first thing that you need to do is that you need to get into the project that you want to push. For example, my project is inside this full stack blood donation app here, and if you open the code here, you can see we have several folders here. For example, we have this folder that is for front end, for background services, and we have for our backend. And one thing that I want you to notice is that we added this .git ignore here, and we specified things that we don't want to push to our GitHub. And so that is what we are going to do right now. So I'm going to get into my command prompt here. The first command that I'm going to do is to initialize Git. So you can see Git init right there, and then I'm going to add everything that is inside this folder here. So Git add, and then dot, that means to add everything. And then I can be able to just add a comment. So Git commit, I'm going to add a comment start working on backend, like that. And then I'm going to push now, git push, or actually I'm not going to push. First of all, I'm going to connect now my GitHub repo. So to connect, you need to use this command, git remote add origin, and then now there's the URL for that repo. So I'm going to copy this, and then I'm going to paste it here, like that, and then enter. And then now I can just push. So I'm going to do git push origin and then master, like that. So let us push the code right there. So I'm going to add my passphrase. If you maybe have connected to GitHub, you might find that you need to have a passphrase when you push your code. So I have already pushed my code, and then the other thing is that when I reload here, you'll be able to see the code will be uploaded. So for example, right here, you can be able to see the backend, and the backend here, you can see the code that we started. Right here, you can see the code that we have. One thing that you notice is that we don't have .env file here, because we specified in the .ignore file that we don't want to push .env file. And the other thing that you need to notice is that you can see, if I come back to this repo here, you can be able to see in our code here, we have a folder that is background services and frontend, but right here you can see we don't have frontend and background services, and that is because Git ignores any folder that is empty, and our folders right here for the front end and also background services are empty. That's why they have been ignored. So another thing now I want to do, because we are going to work step by step and by features, I'm going to create branches for different parts of this application. So if I do git branch, so let's do that. So if I do git branch right here, you'll be able to see right now we have only one branch that is called master, but I want to create another branch because we are working on a backend. I'm going to create a branch that is called backend, like that. So I'm going to create that, and if you do git branch, you'd be able to see that we have now two branches, one master and the other one is backend. But this one master is highlighted using green. That means it's the active branch that you are working on. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to switch to backend branch, because that's what we are working on right now. So I'm going to do git branch and then backend right there. So if I do that, and then you can see here switch to branch backend, and when I do git branch again, you can be able to see that now our backend branch is highlighted using green. So that means that is the active branch that you are working on. So that is it. So I think that's okay now. I think also I can be able to maybe close this, or maybe something of the sort. If I just close this, I think it will be okay. So now let us concentrate now with the application and continue from where we left in the last video. So also, if you have want to watch the other video, kindly go back and watch the other video so that you notice what you are working on. So right now, another thing is that you can subscribe to this YouTube channel, and also like this video, turn on the notification bell so that you'll be notified the next time that I upload a new video. So what I'm going to do is that in this part here, you can see we are working on our backend and also our MongoDB. So let's go back here. And the other thing that I want to do is to come here to the app.js, and there are several things that I want to do. First thing first, I want to initialize what we call course. So I'm going to import course here. So const course here, and then let us import it. So require, and then right here I can import course like that, simple as that. And then right here I need to initialize course, because course will help us, or will help our backend to be able to accept requests from other domains. For example, our domain that is localhost 7 that runs on port 5173. So here I'm going to write course like that, and then I'm going to actually make sure that I do that here. So I can do app.use, and right here I can now call the course, and then I'm going to make sure that I call that function inside this middleware that is app.use. So another thing is that I want my backend to be able to work with JSON data. So to do that, I'm going to actually have a comment here says JSON, and then here I'm going to use app.use, and then here I can do express and then .json like that. You need to do this, because if you don't do this, then it will give you an error. For example, if you don't add cause here, and also if you don't specify that your backend need to work with JSON data. So that is it. That is what I wanted to specify here. But now here, right down here, also we are going to have different routes here. So I'm going to do that later on. But right now, what I want to do is to make sure that we have a schema for our database. So I'm going to create a folder here that is called models like that. So models right here. So I need to use small letters, so models. And inside models, we are going to have different models, and that is the structure of our database, how our database will be structured. So inside here, I'm going to create the first schema, our model that is called user. Let me use capital U, and then user.js. And inside here now, I'm going to specify the my schema for my MongoDB. So I'm going to do const and then mongoose like that, and then I'm going to do require. So require, and then inside here I can do mongoose like that. And another thing is that I'm going to create now the schema. So I'm going to call this user schema. So user schema like that. We are going to have mongoose dot schema like that. Actually, it should be having a capital S, so like that. Also inside here, this is a function, and this function here accept this object here. But after that, now what we need to do here, we are going to have to export this schema. So I'm going to use module.exports, and then here I'm going to use mongoose, and then I'm going to use model. So mongoose model here. And then the first thing that I need to do is to specify the name that our collection will be called, or our document. And then this one, we are going to export user schema. So let me do that. So user schema, this one here, the one that we have created up here. And now here we need to structure how our user will be looking at. So the first thing that we are going to have here is the name. So let me have the name here, and the name will be having a type of string. So this is a string right here, the name. And because we want this user to be having a name all the time, otherwise the user won't be will be not be added to the database, we need to have this require to true. So that means that when you add the user, the name must be present. So also the other thing is email, and then we do the same. We are going to do the same here. So the type should be string characters. Also here we are going to have require. So require like that, we need it to be true like that. Let me have it a small letter there. Also we are going to have password. So for password also, remember this will be just a string, type will be string like that. And then the other thing here, it should be required. So should be require, you can be able to see this one here, this is true. So because we don't want to add user without a password. Also we are going to have a status. So let's have a status here. So the type here for the status is number. So let's add the number here. And also we are going to have the status to be having a default of 1. So if we don't specify the status, we are going, it will be saved in the database with the having a number of 0. That means because that is default. So another thing is the role. So here, this one, because we are going to have only admins, we are going to have this as a string, first thing. And then here by default, we want to add this user to be admin, because we won't have any other user. We are going to have admins only. The other thing now is to add the timestamps, and timestamps we add right here. So that means that when this user is created in a database, we are going to have the time that they were created and also the time that it was updated. So here I'm going to add timestamp. So timestamps. So this is timestamp here, and we are going to add it to be true. Yeah, just like that. I think this is how it should be added, like that. So I think now I have created the model for the user. So I can be able to save this. Also I can be able to save this here, and I'm going to close this one so that we can have a place where we can work here. So now I want to add other models, for example models for, let's say, the donor. So let's do that. So we are going to have another model right here for the donor. So let's create another here. So mod donor.js, like that. We are going to do the same. First thing is to import mongoose. So mongoose, like that, we are going to import it here. So mongoose. And the other thing is to make sure that we create the schema. So this one is donor schema. So donor, actually it should be start with a small d. So this is donor schema here. And then the other thing is to make sure that this is, we create the mongoose schema, mongoose.schema. You can be able to see it there. It is a function that accepts an array. And then here I think I can just add a capital D. I think it will be fine. So here also I'm going to add module.exports to export my schema, and then here I can be able to add mongoose, and then .model, and then here I can call this donor, so donor, like that, and then here I can be able to export donor schema, so like that, simple as that. So now inside here I want to add everything that will be in the donor, that will be like fields in the donor database. So here the first thing that I will have is the email. So let me start with the name actually. So the name here of the donor, and then here the type will be string. So the type here will be string. Also this one I want it to be required, first thing, so required to be true. Also we are going to have email, so email, and the same will be added here. For example, the type will be string, and then also it will be required, so I'm going to have require to be true. Actually this one should be require and not required. So here I'm going to actually now copy paste, because now you understand what we are doing. So right here we need to have the address, so let's have the address here, so address, and then this one is not a must, so I'm going to just leave it like that. I'm going to copy this here, and then I can paste it here. This one also we need to have phone number. I'm going to call it 10. You can call it the way you want. So also we are going to have a broad group or broad group type. So here this one will be broad group type here. So let's add that broad group like that. Also now here we are going to have another one which is weight. So let's have weight here. Weight of course will be number, so weight. So weight, for weight here will be just number, so let's do that. Weight will be number. Another thing is that for our weight here also we need to have date, so the date that the donor actually donated blood. So also the other thing is that we need to have like disease or diseases, let's call it diseases, and this one actually I need to copy paste because I want us to save a lot of time. So this one is diseases, and let's also add another one which is age. So for the age here, age will be number, so let's add the type here to be number. Another thing is that we can be able to add something like blood pressure. So these are all the things that are going to be required, so to donate blood here, as the information that also is going to be required when the donor donate blood, or the information that will be gotten from the blood. And also the other thing is status. So here we are going to have a status. So for the status, we are going to have a status of 0. That means that this donor here has not received any email. But don't worry if you don't understand. I'm going to explain everything before we finish, or when we are working on our background services. So here we are going to have a number, and also here we are going to have a default here will be 0, like that. So I think that's all right there. So I'm going to save this, and then we need to have another model here, and for this one here is for prospect.js, like that. So let us add it there. And then what we can do is that for this one, for the donor and the prospect are almost the same. So I'm going to copy everything from here, copy that one, and then paste it here, like that. And then the other thing is to make sure that I change this to be prospect schema. So prospect schema, I'm going to change here to be prospect. So prospect, and then here also I need to change this to be prospect, like that. So after that I can be able to save this, like that. And then now I can cross all of this. So we have a schema. So for our models here saved. So what we can do also is to proceed. So now the other feature that I want us to start working on is making sure that we can register the user, or we can work on registering the user, or the authentication in general, that is. So to work on that part, we need to work on our controllers, because this is where we are going to keep our functionality for everything. So let's do that. So what we are going to do is that inside our controllers right here, we are going to have another file that is called auth.js, and that is for authentication. And right here now, this one, we are going to add the functionality for our registering and also logging in as our for our admin. So also here we are going to have a functionality for our prospect, for example, be able to be saved to the database. So here I'm going to have a prospect.js, and also we are going to have donor.js here. This is where we are going to at least keep all the functionality for our donor, for example, CRUD operations. So I'm going to actually close this, and this one for the prospect right here. And then we can now be able to concentrate with this one for authentication. And right here, because we need to have several we are going to have several packages that you are going to require. For example, crypto.js for actually encrypting our password when we save in the database, because we cannot be able to actually store the password in the database that is not encrypted. That will pose a risk issues. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to check in package.json here if I have installed those packages. So I have not installed those packages. So let me install those two packages, the crypto.js and JSON Web Token. So I'm going to actually open another terminal right here. And then here I'm going to get into my backend and be able to install now those two. I'm going to install those two packages. So I'm going to get cd backend like that, and then I'm going to make sure that I npm install, and then I'm going to install crypto.js like that. And then the other thing that I'm going to install is JSON Web Token like that. So JSON npm install crypto.js and JSON Web Token like that. So these two packages are very important, and we are going to need them when we register and also log in. So I'm going to do that right here. So actually we have installed that, and you can be able to see JSON Web Token has been added here, and also crypto.js. So let me close this, because now that we can just make sure that we have a space where we can work in. So here we are going to have a crypto.js. So let us first of all make sure that we import crypto.js here. So const here we need to have crypto.js right there. So and then let us require crypto.js. So crypto.js here. So I think need to have crypto. Let me see the name here, because it is not giving me like auto completion. So you can see here crypto.js. So you need to import this one here. So copy that, and then make sure that it is the one that we are able to, or actually you can be able to see right there. Another thing that you are going to actually use is JWT, or JSON Web Token. So I'm going to require here JSON Web Token like that. And also another thing that we are going to have here is user schema. So this one we are going to require from now our models. So let's go out of this folder inside, and then we are going to get into models, and then we are going to get to user right here. So I think that's all that we are going to require, but also I think we need to have .env here, .env, and we are going to require here the .env. So let's do that .env here. So .env, and then the other thing is that we need to config .env. So I'm going to do .env.config right there. And then the other thing is that now we can start working on our registering the user. So the first thing that I'm going to do, let me actually add a comment here. And this one I'm going to add register user like that. And then here we can be able to create a function. So this one is register user like that. And then right here I can be able to have the function here, so like that. And also right here we are going to have login user like that. Let me create also the function here for login user like that. So here we are going to have these two like that. And then now inside here we can continue building the functionality for registering the user. So the first thing that I'm going to do is to create a new user here. So new user, and we are creating this new user from our user, and then this new user function here that is going to require now the things that we are going to save to our database. The first thing that we are going to save is the name, and then our name here we are going to get them from requests.body. So here we need, in our function we need to require two things. So we are going to have a request and the response here. So these are the things that also you need to understand with this function. It needs to have a request and also the response. So the name here we are going to send it using request.body, and then this one will be full name, or let's call it the name here. So the other thing is we are going to have the email. So for the email we are going to actually have this one request.body and then .email like that. And also we are going to have the password. So we are going to have a password right here. So the password, we are going to first of all make sure that we encrypt our password, and we are going to use this this package that is called crypto.js. And for crypto.js here you can use different algorithm. In our case we are going to use this crypto.js, and then also we are going to use algorithm that is called EAS, and I'm going to encrypt now using that algorithm. And inside here we need to actually pass in the password. So our password, we are going to send it using request.body and then password like that. The other thing is we are going to have we need to also have a secret password. So I'm going to create that in our .env. So you can see this process.env.pass here. So that means we need to actually add another variable here in our .env. So I'm going to have a pass here that will enable us to be able to encrypt our password. So here I'm going to add just a Brad donation or Brad bridge. Let me just call it Brad bridge. But this is very, very simple. You can make sure that your password that you're using to encrypt here is a very complex one. And then here we have process.env.pass, and then here I can be able to do toString right here and call that function to make sure that is a string. So also now after you have done that, now you can use try catch right here. And here we need now to be able to save to our database. So to do that we need to create a user. So user like that, and then here we need to await, because we don't know the time it will take to save this user to our database. So here I need to add async, so that if you want to use await you need to add also async, because that will be a synchronous function. So another thing that you are going to do is now use new user, and then you can be able to use save function here like that, and that's how you'll be able to save that user in the database. So the other thing is that we need also to send that user to our front end. So I'm going to use res here, or this one we can call response, and then status. We are going to use the status code of 201, that means creation, and then you are going to use JSON here, and then we are going to send that user to our front end, or the person who is have been registered. Also here now down, what we can do is that we can do test.status, and then here we can add 500 and then .json, and then we can send the error also like that. And that is how we actually able to register our user. So now that is very simple to register a user. And now the other part we have been left with is to log in the user. But right now I don't want this video to be longer than this. In the next video I want us to be able to create this functionality here for logging in, and also we are going to use Postman. So we have Postman here so that we can be able to test our backend. So if you don't have a front end and you want to test your backend, you can use this software here that is called Postman. So make sure that also you have installed Postman for the next video where we are going to test our Postman. So pause this video, go and install the Postman, so that in the next video also you'd be ready when we are testing our backend here. So that is it. Let me see you in the next video. Remember to like this video and also subscribe, and I'll be able to see you in the next video. Have a great day.